everybody, and welcome back to yet another fun installment of the Cup Duet Reviews, brought to you by Cup of Hemlock Theatre. I am your bald, formerly ginger host and co-artistic producer, Mackenzie, and I am joined once again after our tales through the Greek mythology. It is the wonderful Graeme McClelland. Hello, Graeme.
Hello, Mackenzie, and so glad to be back with Cup of Hemlock. I feel like I had a bit of a sabbatical from the Cup, and then in this past month, we've done like 2 shows, and I love it.
It's true. When it rains, it pours.
And just keep the rain coming.
All right. We can do that. We can do that. And we are talking about a very fun piece tonight. It is a piece from a relatively new theater company, stemming from the U of T and Sheridan Joint Program. It is the Unbridled Theatre Collective, and it presents The Threepenny Opera by Brecht. Yes. Running at the Video Cabaret at 10 Busy Street, Toronto. And it runs from May the 8th to the 17th.
Okay.
And this was directed by Anita La Selva. Music direction by Justin Hiscox. And this piece was adapted by Simon Stevens. And the original piece was by Bertolt Brecht, Kurt Weill, and Elisabeth Hauptmann. Before we dive too deep in, what is in your cup, sir?
My cup today, it's more of a tumbler, but I figured since it was a play that very much was London inspired, I have a nice London dry gin Negroni.
I was about to say, is there some gin in there?
There definitely is a little bit of the good London stuff.
Good.
Had to commemorate the occasion with some gin.
Fair. And you also were rocking a very cool cape that would have fit very well with this ensemble's costumes.
Absolutely. Literally walked in the theater and they were like, "Are you part of the cast?" Like, I'm like, no, like I would be this late for a call time, girl.
Well, I mean, like you could have already been here dressed, and then you're starting from the audience. You're doing that surprise audience moment,
which would have been amazing. But no,
yes.
I was just the Phantom of the Opera, just kind of lingering in the second last row.
Aha! Not even box 5 you got this time.
Not even box 5. I don't know if there even would be a box, but gladly I would have found one.
You would have found one. Excellent. And tonight I am drinking some lovely Crystal Light fruit punch. So there we go. So Graeme, you and I were both novices to this piece. So I feel it only fair as our guest that you get to summarize what you just watched. So what is the plot of this show? For those who don't know.
The plot of this show, which I was actually surprised that we opened with the song Mac the Knife, which I'm familiar with.
As am I.
With Bobby Darin. And I only ever associate that song with Bobby Darin because it was one of his more famous pieces. So when we open with that, I'm like, wait a minute. This ain't a jukebox piece.
Nope.
What's Bobby Darin doing here? Surprise, it was Bertolt Brecht all along.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's difficult to summarize because this piece very much reminded me of like an ensemble early modern play, such as Bartholomew Fair, where there's a lot going on. Yes. It's a wide cast. A more modern example is Les Miserables, where there is...
I was going to say, this is like a musical made up entirely of Thénardiers.
Yes.
All scheming and screwing each other over.
And it's about criminals. It's about the underbelly of London, but truly makes commentary on society as a whole.
Yes.
Brecht is always full with his social commentary and political theater.
To the point where his stuff gets banned by Hitler.
I mean, I think that's definitely a medal to be worn. And I mean, I think we need a few more playwrights who are banned by contemporary Hitlers, if you will.
True.
This piece really follows the criminal Mac the Knife, Macheath, and his...
Captain
Macheath, as he kind of journeys through the underbelly of London, of course, lying, cheating, stealing, killing, all the way through.
He's kind of like a Bill Sykes character.
From Oliver. He's really messing everyone over. Yes. And it's about revenge, and it's about... I'm having so much trouble defining this piece because so much is happening.
Well, here, I can help you a bit. So basically, long story short, you have kind of a core 4, I would say. You got the the Peachum couple over here. And they are kind of like a Madame Scenario meets Fagin, where Mr. Peachum has started a lucrative business. Basically, instead of pickpocketing, they are scheming urchins, peddlers.
Legitimized beggars.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Legitimized beggars, yes. And his wife is stepping out on him, having affairs, including with Mac the Knife. And one night she goes out with her daughter, Polly, who is behind me there in the white dress. And Polly does not come home because she decides to run away to stick it to her dad and marry Mac the Knife himself, which then kicks off this whole piece because while Polly is honeymooning at the Savoy, it is revealed that Mac the Knife is a former army captain who is friends with none other than Chief Inspector Tiger Brown. And when Polly reveals this info to her father, who is now collecting information to blackmail people, her father puts this to use and uses it to get back at Mac the Knife for betting and marrying his daughter. And so then hijinks ensue as the police are hunting Mac, the Peachums are hunting Mac, Polly's trying to help him stay out of jail with her creative accounting schemes. It's revealed that Mac has also slept with Inspector Tiger Brown's daughter, so he screwed over his best friend. It just gets away. And once again, it's a bigger commentary on what happens when people are screwing each other over in this societal system and kind of who comes out on top, which we'll save for a spoiler reveal later on. But that's kind of, did I miss anything, Graeme?
I don't think so. You summed it up pretty well. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to process, and
it takes a lot for the plot to get going. Like really, I didn't feel the plot really got going until the end of the first act, and I went, "Oh, okay, this is where we're going." Like, the first few scenes are like, "Ooh, where are we going here?"
Yeah, it definitely takes its sweet time, and I think that
the classic Brecht piece.
That is very intentional and really encourages you to watch, listen, and observe, because the cast is also so large that I spent most of my time early on just trying to figure out who was who.
Yes.
And they throw a lot of names at you, and they throw a lot of characters into the mix, and you wonder, how is this all going to shape up, mix, and come to some kind of plot?
Yes.
But I think what also I love is it starts off very upfront in very Brechtian, true Brechtian style. It's very direct to the audience. It very much takes the walls and the machinations of theater and leaves them all bare, leaves it all on display, and right from the beginning states kind of its thesis statement.
Yes.
So you, the audience, can be thinking about it and aware that this is not a moral piece.
No. Once again, it's kind of like a perverse version of Comedy Tonight, where it's, the whole line that they have in that song is, no morals, right? It's like, must be a moral, has to be a moral. Morals tomorrow, Comedy Tonight. It's like, the piece we're doing tonight, it does, we're just doing a commentary on society. We're not looking to preach about anything in particular. It's just society sucks.
Yeah, I'd say that very much captures the tone of the Threepenny Opera.
And what were your thoughts about this particular production of Threepenny Opera, in general speaking, before we get into spoilers?
I think I was intrigued the whole time, which I can't say I enjoyed every moment of it. I think, personally, I think some of the songs overstayed their welcome a little too long.
Yeah. Thanks, Brecht.
They were dense poetry, which meant I sometimes lost the start of the line by the end of the line, just in terms of like the meaning. And I think there was a general discordance in the music as a whole, which very much captures that underbelly criminal energy about the piece. I can't say there are any songs I'll be tapping my toe to through the rest of the night. It's a dense piece. So it's
very Sondheimian in that way, where there is really no humble melody.
It's meant for you to appreciate and contemplate, not so much to enjoy. This is how I tend to describe like theater as medicine. And, as they put a Brecht quote right in the program, art is not a mirror held up to reality, but a hammer with which to shape it. And I think keeping that in mind, it helps me to understand the piece a little bit better, because this is not a piece that's meant to be frivolous entertainment. This is a piece that is meant to be savored, contemplated, and discussed. Right. And I think that's exactly what we're doing here. But I would say that as a whole, while I didn't enjoy every moment of it, I did as a whole find it as an interesting piece, and I'm glad I saw it.
Yes. Do you find that this production got Brecht's message across of what he was trying to say through his art?
I think that in a way it did.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely felt the austereness of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this production in particular really captured a very grim, gritty reality. You had characters in very colorful, flamboyant costumes that also had a kind of edge to them. So they weren't just bright colors. They all were a little bit dingy and had...
They were muddied colors.
Exactly. And I think that that's the world that Brecht encourages us to see.
Right.
He pulls the curtain back and says, look, the world is ugly. And this production captured that ugliness quite well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't...
In the words of Claude Frollo, the world is cruel, the world is wicked. It's I alone who you can trust in this whole city. I am your only friend.
And that very much, I feel like there were a lot of Claude Frollos in this piece. Almost every character was going to the audience and saying, you can trust me. I'm the one that you should trust. You should put your faith in me. And I kept looking for who was going to be the kind of main character, because while Captain Macheath is a central character, I probably would say that he is the hero of the story.
Oh God, no, he's not a hero.
And by that, I mean, he's more of an anti-hero.
I wouldn't even call him an anti-hero.
I mean, we can't...
He's an asshole who sticks his dick in everything.
He's definitely a dickhead.
I would say Polly's our hero.
Polly is definitely my contender and one of my favorite characters as a whole. Because I'm like, oh, Polly's got it. Like, Polly definitely shapes up and changes drastically from how we first meet her and goes through the best journey of a character in the piece. Because I don't feel like many other characters change much.
Not really.
No one changes in this play. And to me, I don't think that's Brecht's point. If anything, Polly goes from a character who's pretty wide-eyed and naive and over the course gets some grit to her. So she becomes more like the other characters who already have their various sordid versions of grit. Whether that is...
She has a very graceful fall from grace, from her cloud into reality. Like, there's that great scene at the beginning when she comes home from her honeymoon, where her mother kind of calls it out and says, girl, wake up. Like, this man has a dame on every street corner. Like, get real, girl. Like, he is not your loving husband.
Mm-hmm.
Get wise. And she very quickly gets wise.
Yeah, so I'd say definitely Polly is our hero.
Mm-hmm.
Macheath is a central figure because his connection, he seems to be the main point of connection for most of the characters to even interact.
Right.
He's the plot device, if anything.
Yes, he absolutely is the plot driver of the show.
But I would say this production definitely gives a glimpse into the Brechtian world that is not pretty. It's not highlighting the best parts of the world, but it definitely made some very poignant... The play itself makes some very poignant, unavoidable statements, which definitely make you consider society as a whole, regardless of what time period. I find this play particularly resonant right now, and it definitely goes to some very dark places.
Yep.
Which I think that those dark places that it did go, which I will save for the past the spoiler knife, it was startling. And it was jarring. So this production, I think, did land. It stuck some of its landings. Others, maybe not so much.
Right.
But what did you think of this production, Mackenzie? I'm so curious.
What did I think of this production? Like you, this is once again, nothing against the cast, but the piece that Brecht gave them is a difficult one. It is not for the faint of heart to try to attempt, to say the least. As you said, those songs are not overly melodic. They are heavy on the lyrics. It is a sprawling plot piece where really the plot doesn't go until, I would say, almost the last third of the first act. You got a lot of lifting to do, and I think this cast took on that challenge very admirably and did their utmost to try and really capture the world that Brecht was commenting on. And I got sucked up in this world. I think they all really took a bite out of that really seedy underbelly and embraced that kind of dark seediness that all these characters have. You know, like they definitely weren't pulling their punches with how they were treating each other and how the world was kind of treating them. And the nice thing about the intimate space of this video cabaret venue is you could see some of these actors were really emoting or having some really genuine emotional reactions to things. Like there's the trio song between all the Peachum characters there, which I believe maybe it's the Barbara song or the first Threepenny finale where it's all three of the Peachum singing. And both women were having deeply emotional reactions to what was happening on stage during that moment.
I think about one of the last scenes of the play where both characters on stage were, when they turned to face, because I got them in profile for most of this scene. When they turned to face, there were tears streaming down both of their faces. And so the emotional connection for the actors was definitely there.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yes, and I mean we'll get more into production design, things like that. But once again, this is a remount from their, I believe it's their 4th year production, and so clearly they've lived with this piece for a while. Ergo, they were very comfortable in these characters and kind of knew their tracks very well. It was a very smooth running show. Like even the stagehands were quick in, quick out. Like everybody kind of knew what was going on. They were very comfortable on the set. Like I would just say it was a very smooth production to a very unsmooth piece, is the way I would describe it, if that makes any sense.
It does. I can definitely understand a piece being less smooth, but the operation of it being very smooth. And all of the even characters coming on and off stage, moving in the wings, which you could see.
Yep, you could see them. Once again, Brecht doesn't hide much.
All very intentional, and there were moments that were truly like, I'm like, oh, yep, they're mentioning a character, and that actor is slowly walking within view just to keep them in mind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but overall, like I'd say once again, this is a great kind of fresh out of theater school, remounting production. The cast clearly knew this piece well, so they felt very comfortable remounting it again. And as I always say, we got to go out and support these new artists and give them their due and let them kind of spread their wings. And you know, this is a piece that really was striving to make a commentary, and as you said, it's a very timely piece. So I think it's well worth the time to go out and see it.
100%, because I don't think it's possible to sit in this theater, see this piece, and not think about the world we live in.
Yes.
And more specifically, though, the world you live in. Like whoever you, the audience member, is, you think about your world very clearly watching this piece. And you think about the relationship you have to the world.
Yes.
Because in many times, actors look directly at the audience and say a very pointed line that's meant to make you think.
Well, before we go into spoiler world, we'll remind everybody once again, this is running at the Video Cabaret from May 8th to the 17th. We'll have the link to buy tickets down below. Please go check it out. Support these artists as they take on the wide world of Toronto theater. And what do you say we throw up our spoiler knives there, Graeme?
Spoiler knives. I'm ready for this because it's very difficult to talk about this piece ambiguously.
Okay, well, spoiler knife is now up on the screen, not in somebody's ass, as like Mac the Knife did at one point in the show. And so let's dive in. And the first thing we'll kind of say to finish off our plot is that Mac is about to be hanged when there is a very Greek theater, Deus Ex Machina, down from the gods comes the king to give him a full pardon and a knighthood and a juicy salary to live off of for the rest of his days. How did you feel about that ending? Because it ticked me right off.
I will
pissed me off with this ending.
Like, I was like, wait a second. We were told at the start of the piece, this is not a moral play. This has no morality. This is an opera. We're meant to be happy. So, and I think that indirectly addressing that and calling that out, it challenges the audience expectations of musicals, expectations of opera, expectations of plays in general. Because what's the number one rule of most good writing? bad characters usually meet bad ends. Usually. Right. And if they don't, it's usually for a reason. And this is a case where this is for a reason, even though it also pissed me off because I was like, no, this is correct. Like Mac Heath being executed for all of his many crimes. We literally start the show with him killing people, him stealing from people, him burning an orphanage, which, to be fair, was one of the moments I laughed the hardest. Was the way they did the orphanage fire was just like the whole shadow play. It was hilarious. So I have a character.
Also, what is with all the shadow play stuff? Like Talk Is Free did it with their great Sweeney Todd production. That's the first place I saw it. We just had it with there's another show. Oh, Ophis.
Yes, just Ophis did shadow play.
Yeah, shadow play. Like apparently shadow play is like the new hot thing for a show to do.
And personally, I don't like shadow play. In general, it's a bit of a hot take, but I don't love shadow play because a lot of people do it and not always well. I've seen a lot of really awful shadow play that should not have been in a piece at all. I think that it was fun to draw this big curtain up like throughout the show and have reveals from behind it and cast light through it for the shadow play. I think it was effective, but in general, shadow play I'm wary of because a lot of people want to do it well, and unless you're going to be like, I've seen some beautiful shadow play pieces, then I kind of compare everything to those. And unless you're going to do a specific shadow piece where, again, your skill with shadow play has to be very high,
right?
It's a bit of a gimmick, and it's not always strictly necessary. In this show, I think it helped because as a whole, I think that we're supposed to view these characters as archetypes. We're supposed to view these characters as kind of shadows on a wall, grotesque depictions of humanity, not real quote unquote characters. But I just I really wanted Mac Heath to die.
Me too.
And
Captain McKeith there deserved it, and I love the fact that he's hung by the actions of his own making, like even down to giving Polly the blackmail envelope, and then Polly going, "Well, what would you do if you had this like secret weapon in your pocket? Would you give up that power to save the person, or no? Would you pocket it for yourself and bugger off out of town?" And I'm like, she is absolutely right.
She is correct, and that is kind of the ultimate transformation of Polly's character as well.
Yes. So I really was hoping Mackie would die and be hung like Joseph Bouquet in Phantom of the Opera there. But unfortunately, Brecht had a different choice to make there, as he wanted to argue that capitalism and the desire for money drives people to abandon their humanity, resorting to all manners of atrocities to satisfy their greed. And Covey turns the rich elites of society into underworld criminals, prostitutes, and murderers, arguing that they're all one and the same. So I guess he's arguing that the king is no better than any of these scum in the lower classes.
And I think that is a commentary on the human condition, whatever that means. But like Brecht definitely has his thumb on the human condition because the king is saving his buddy because he can.
Right.
His purveyor of debauchery.
Yeah.
The king is just as bad as all the other characters.
Yes.
The only difference is he has been given power. A power that none of the other characters have, as powerful as they are in their own right.
Yeah.
None of them are the king.
Yeah.
And I think it's also just, it leans back to a lot of Greek tragedy, which, as you know, I am a big fan of Greek tragedy.
That's what I was thinking. When the minute the king came on, I was like, oh, is this a Deus Ex Machina moment where the gods come down from the sky and just go, fixed?
And or come down and they're like, this is the decision. I don't really care if you don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
Because in the immortal words of someone, too bad, life's not fair.
And I think depriving the audience of Captain McKeith, after we've seen him be a horrible human being, is that point of, there's a lot of horrible people in the world, Trump, who, are supposed to get their due in like the people's court system. The justice system, thank you. But ultimately, somehow magically seem to just keep avoiding it all the damn time.
And I also just what I was definitely like dwindling by the end of it. Just because, again, songs overstay their welcome, and that is no fault of the production. That is all Brecht.
Yeah, Brecht
And
does
that
it.
and that last moment, that big finale moment, like March to the Gallows, and all this, it's we've built up this moment, and I'm like, yes, this is exactly how a lot of plays end with the central character literally elevated above people, and the whole ensemble out and about. And then when the messenger from the king came, that moment was like, all right, shut up. I'm done with a messenger from the king, a messenger from the king, a messenger. Like that moment, I was so ready for this song. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. Can we end the show now? You've robbed me of the one satisfactory payoff of this entire play, because I feel like this play was, it resisted the use of tension in a way, because I didn't ever feel many stakes. Even when they were present, it wasn't like grandiose stakes. It was very played down, almost as if whatever. It was very laissez-faire as a whole. Like the whole production was very casual. I think that Peachum as a character is just so very nonchalant about how he destroys people. And but also he's
not wrong to be mad. Peachum is not wrong to be mad that his plot is destroyed. And
he's like, not.
Yeah, like I was rooting for Peachum. I was like, all right, you're being entrepreneurial. You know, you got the goods. You got the guy dead to rights. You know, and ultimately you get screwed over by the highest court in the land.
Who is
it's kind of like Shylock in Merchant of Venice.
Literally, it's just a single person.
Yes.
And I don't say that in some one person can make all the difference kind of way.
But that is kind of what Brecht is saying, is these elites, the right elite can come in and step in and do the thing.
The opposite of the ever famous underdog story of it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, even the tiniest little person can make can change the world. Brecht ain't saying that at all. Brecht is saying, despite all of the scheming and machinations of all the characters in the whole play, they are undercut at the end by a force that has been invisible for the entire piece. Mentioned, reference, definitely a like off-screen,
a Chekhov gun.
Chekhov gun mentioned the entire time.
Yeah.
But it's very unsatisfying at the end.
Yes. But who would you say is your cast shout out?
I have to say it's really tough because there were some phenomenal performances. Honorable mentions: Joel Salsa as Officer Smith.
That's a great one.
The comedy, the physical humor, and the delivery of almost every one of her lines. It was stunning. Like the physical, like I'm a big fan of physical theater, so I very much appreciated the physical comedy and the comedic delivery, because Brecht, I think, is a very funny playwright, because
he can be, absolutely.
If you do it right, there's a kind of, you're laughing because otherwise you'll cry. But my other one is going to be Cameron Helmke, our Jenny in the play, because I think that from the moment that they were walking around the stage and like before the
doing palm readings
time, was completely committed, would have this kind of ethereal, like was floating. And through the entire piece had gorgeous, like very angelic vocals that were crisp, clean notes, and really was a fascinating character who is, I'd say, one of the better characters in the play in terms of morals and morality, even though I wouldn't describe her as a good character per se. No one in the play is strictly, purely good. But
she's a drug addict. Like Jenny is a fallen character. She's kind of the most Fontini character of the piece.
Yeah, she's definitely
really lost a child.
Like she has tragedy in her backstory, both with drug addiction. She's a prostitute, lost a child.
Oh, sorry, I take it back. She's more Nancy than Fontine. She's definitely a Nancy-esque character.
Yeah, she's. But I would shout out Cameron Helmke as my like main shout out for the cast.
Yes. Yeah,
Though
I will
Maggie,
say
though Maggie Tavares also had some great physicality, our Chief Inspector Tiger Brown,
yes,
great physicality and wonderful energy. So
yes.
that's another one of my like shout out.
Yeah, I will say ditto to you on the shout out for Joelle Salsa as Officer Smith. Watching them just eat their lunch as Mac the Knife is stuck with all his lovers in his jail cell, and the glee of her joining in on a payoff plot was like so brilliantly fun. Like that was like she just was. You could clearly see she was chewing that scenery and just enjoying in the debauchery. Absolutely. I will say my shout out goes to a duo who I've already mentioned, but you have Liam Armstrong as JJ Peachum and Aria Di Castro as Mrs. Peachum. These two are delightfully evil. I would absolutely pay to see them as the Thenardiers in Les Mis. 100%.
I agree with
Yeah.
you on that 100%.
Yeah.
They had great chemistry.
Or, even Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett. I would love to see them as like Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett.
I could see that too.
Like Liam and Arya, you two stick together as like a pair on stage, and like you'll go places. Like the chemistry you two had, you played that miserable married couple so well, and even like you have some great duet songs. Like we have their first one, which was "What a Twat" song. Just the disdain these two had for each other. But then also at the same time, how they need each other and realize that they need to work together to get what they want. And it's like how delightfully, gleefully evil and debauched they were together. Like what? And they can belt, man. They could. I would say they were two of the strongest singers of the show, for sure.
And I think they also just every time they were on stage, I had fun.
Yes.
Like the Peachums were so deliciously evil, in the way that like you love to watch villains because they kind of embody all of those things that you can't say because you belong to polite society. And they do all the things you can't do because, again, you belong to polite society. Mm-hmm. So the Peachums are very delicious characters. Yeah. And I could tell that those two had fun playing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Those are my kind of three that I would definitely give shout outs to. Production wise, I do want to give a shout out to, let me just pull their name up here so I make sure we get the name right. Michelle Vanderhayden for their brilliant, fun costumes. Like this whole steampunky meets Victorian London, just such a great look to capturing this kind of debauched world that we're living in this show. Even like the fact that like, Mrs. Peachum is in like cheetah print. Like what a great choice just to be like the most gaudy outfit top you could have.
I also want to shout out the accessories as well because every single one of the like accessory pieces really made those costumes come to life.
The earrings, the rings.
The chief inspector in particular had a like thigh harness on.
Yes.
Which was such a great, I've seen that piece on like social media. It's like an advertisement. And like the fact that it was utilized, I'm like, oh, that is a flawless use of that piece.
I just wanted to also say the storytelling through costumes was great because Polly keeps adding purple into her costumes as she gets more involved in Mac's world. Like she starts off in a white dress with a bit of purple flowers. And then by the end, she's in a like bedazzled blazer. Not in that picture, but a bedazzled purple blazer and purple boots. And it's like, oh yeah, you're full on buying into this world of Mac the Knife, which I was like, what great storytelling there.
Yeah, the costumes were also from the moment everyone walked out on stage they were gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah.
I also have a production shout out as well.
Yeah.
I have to give props to Leslie Wright, our set designer.
Oh, 100%.
Who is a graduate of York University's theater production program as well. So,
hooray, Yorkie!
We love a good Yorkie.
Yes, we do.
Even though I'm not one, I'm a Griffin, but I have a little bit of Yorkie blood in me for first year. How we all met. But I think the staging was so gorgeous because of the kind of, it captured the epic scale of epic theater. You have these huge slats that say Threepenny Opera as the backdrop.
Yeah.
This wonderful moving set piece that...
Yeah, this almost like festival stage, like thrust balcony that could come out and move.
And just the fact that it covered enough, but also showed enough. The use of levels and layers, the moment where Mrs. Peachum is crawling out across the platform that's kind of raised above stage level near the beginning of the show to look for Polly, and has that little physical theater moment where she's just looking for her daughter and her daughter's not there. And that moment of realization was just made that much better by having the platform above. And I guess I loved also just the utilization of space and the fact that it gave us this big open playing field, even though it was a very tight theater space. So Leslie Wright, great job on our set design. I think that it did a fantastic job of setting the stage.
100%. Absolutely. We've talked about the ending. We've talked about the cast. We've talked about the set, the production designs. Is there any other element of the show you want to discuss that we have yet to talk about?
I don't think so, because I think
Did you have a favorite song of the show?
No, I didn't like any of the songs in the show, really. I'd say that if I were to really reach for a favorite, it's hard because I'm looking at all these songs and I don't remember.
Yes.
I'd say the Song of Human Weakness is probably my favorite.
Which one was that again?
That was Peachum's last big number with all of the Patriots.
Oh, yes. Okay, I like that one a lot too. That was really good. Also, Jealousy Duet, and it was a great one too.
Yeah, but to me, Song of Human Weakness, that is to me the big show-stopping number and the one that I enjoyed the most. And again, it's a Peachum number. The Peachums are great, and the way that they deliciously show what's evil and vile about the world, while also just being business
honest. Yeah, and they're honest about it too. They're like, listen, this is what it is.
Like, hey, the world is gross, the world is disgusting. If you don't capitalize on it, you're a sucker. They're very much the Thenardiers.
Yeah, they really are. They are the beggars at the feast. It's a world where the dog eats dog, where they kill for the bones in the street.
Yeah, and I think Peachum kills for just the sheer fun of it sometimes.
Oh, I totally agree with that. He was relishing breaking Jenny's fingers in that one scene.
That was one of those dark moments I mentioned that was very... I'm like, oh, damn, this is getting, like, real.
That and the sexual assault scene.
The sexual assault scene.
That was an intense moment.
That was a moment that I'm like, oh, we went for it. Oh, we went there. I have no aversion to darkness, but that even I have to say that was a jarring moment. So I would say, dear listeners, if you are thinking of going to this play and you are bothered by that kind of depiction, it is a brief moment, but... If you are truly triggered by moments like that, I might advise skipping this one because...
Yes, there's the trigger warning listed about this piece, and I definitely do take it into consideration because they do not shy. Once again, this is a show about debauchery and, the darkness of humanity, and they don't shy away from that.
And I will say, I didn't have a program at the start of the show, and I was unaware that this was going to be happening.
Right.
And so I walked down, I'm like, oh! That could have been a warning better placed in the theater before you go in. That could have been more clearly announced because I was coming in close to a show start, so I wasn't gonna run for a program. I wasn't trying to be fussy. I just wanted to get in and get my seat. So I didn't grab a program. Also, I'm like, do I really need a program? The answer is yes, I do. I need to know who our cast and our production artists are. So I had no idea that was coming. So I'm like, not welcome to the show. We've been here for a while, but hi. Back to moment.
Exactly. I think that's a good wrap-up spot, Be mindful, this is a dark piece, but it is a piece that is, I would say, well worth, going on and checking it out. Support this up-and-coming theater company. Once again, it runs from May 8th to the 17th at the Video Cabaret. This is the Threepenny Opera by the Unbridled Theatre Collective. So do go check it out. On that lovely note, spoiler shield down. Graeme, where can people find and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at Instagram999, spelled like my name, which is Graeme. That's the best place to find me if you want to keep up with what I'm doing.
Excellent, excellent. And you can follow me at Mackenzie Horner, all social media platforms. My musical theater antics over on Before the Downbeat, a musical podcast where we just released our episode all about Annie Get Your Gun, which was a great, fun piece, talking no business like show business. And the fact that you can't get a man with a gun unless you're Mac the Knife. In that case, maybe you can. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we will see you all in the next episode. Ta-ta for now. Fish and chips.